Good morning. How is everybody today? Today's video is going to be about living in an RV and how much it costs to live in an RV during this time and the cost that it would cost you to live in an RV at this time, full-time, year-round. What? You get in an RV? Cheap? Yeah, you can. We're going to talk about that today. Today we're going to talk about living full-time in an RV. What does it cost to live in an RV full-time? Well, you know what? People will tell you you cannot live in an RV under $1,000 a month. Some people will tell you there's no way in the world you could live in an RV under $1,000 a month. It's just like people saying that you cannot live here in the Philippines under $1,000 a month. You can. And here's how you can do it. There are ways that you can actually take the time and think about where you're going to live. The thing of it is do you live for the price or you live for the environment you're in? And that's the choice you have to make. Are you going to live somewhere because it's cheap to live and you don't care about the environment? Or you really want to live somewhere that it is the environment is nice and you don't care the cost? You could do that. When I lived in an RV, now this has been 6 years ago. Now, I recently just contacted and reached out to my my campsites that I used to stay. And I reached out to them on the monthly rate and what they would be. Now, monthly rate's going to vary depending on where you're going to go. There are sites online. There are places you can go. So I'm just going to give you some ideas on what the best thing to do now. Right now, I checked Florida. All right, now I'm from Arizona, but I lived in Florida for a good period of my lifetime, and I want to tell you there's some great places you can stay in Florida. Right now is Bike Week. Right after Bike Week, there's another event and another event and another event. Now, there are places you can actually stay up at Ocala National Forest in Juniper Springs. There are places you can stay. There are, depending on campsites or RV sites, for inexpensive. Now, I particularly stayed at two or three sites there in Port Orange, Florida. One was Nova Road Campgrounds, and they're very good family-oriented campgrounds, very nice, swimming pool. They always have a lot. You can have fire there. They're really reasonably priced. Right now, the rate is, it runs about $380 to $420 a month, plus your electric, depending on year-round. Now, if you arrive there in on their off season is the smartest thing to do. Sign a contract on their off season, which is of course May, June, July, and August. And if you get in there in September, if you get there during that time and sign a contract for a yearly, your rate will reduce considerably because you're during their off season, and it will balance out whenever Bike Week and Oktoberfest and all the things run into the thing there. So your rate, it will say, would be normally $420 a month or $450 a month. It will drop down to $350, $375 a month. Another place you can go if you're in another state, there's two or three places right around that area around the same rate also in Port Orange. Another place is around Wilderness there in Tyler, Texas. They have rates that you can stay for $350, $325 a month, year-round contract, and it's pretty well year-round based. They have swimming pools, they have activities and things like that. So what you need to do is research the place you wanted to go. Just go. There's plenty of campsites. Now, there are also other sites out there that gives you availability. Excuse me for my throat here. There are other sites out there that gives you availability that you can actually share a boondock space. And what that means is sharing boondocking. In other words, you're going to someone's house. And there are sites out there that actually, I will put a link into this site that actually has thousands and thousands of places you can stay. Now, at no cost. Now, basically, you're going to be staying at people's farms, homes, some people's driveways. You're going to be staying in some people's neighbor's house. You're going to be somewhere, but it's going to be nice. You have to check it out. You have to find out where you're going to be staying. But a lot of the guys out there, their RVs themselves, so they can camp here at my farm. They can camp here at my 4-acre house. They can camp here at my 10-acre house. Some have dumping, some have electric and power, everything already. There's also places out in Arizona that can actually offer free camping to you, but it is a nominal fee, anywhere from $150 to $250 a month, depending on your electric uses, and you can stay there. Now, I'll put these links in there. The most important thing that you really don't realize is there is availability. People just don't really realize the availability of where you can go and where you can live cheaply and where the cost can be incurred. Another place that I stayed that I had a great time is there's a place down in Fort Myers. And I apologize for not remembering the name. And I wrote it down and I just now forgot it. There's a place around Cape Coral, Fort Myers, Florida, that was inexpensive to stay, and you can stay there year round. It was under around $400 a month. Now, their rates, they were telling me their rates are going to increase, and because they're getting overrun of people and buying RVs and getting RV business. When I bought my RV, it was a 32-footer, and I sometimes had a problem parking it in some of the areas and getting around some of the turns and bends. But what you have to do is, just like anything else that you have, practice backing it in, practice driving, practice being in your RV. If you have to, take it to a Walmart parking lot and use their slots and teach yourself to drive. That was a great place to stay. There are other places, if you go up around Dunedin and Ocala National Forest, that can actually give you good rates, fairly good prices, and I'm saying fairly good prices, under $500 a month. And I'm talking under $500 for a yearly rate. There are some there around Dunedin and some of the places there that were cheaper last year than they are this year. They've gone up a little on the rates, but you can still live there. Some are listed as $400 a month. But I found that places in Georgia, Alabama, and Texas, things like that, you can stay around $300, $350, $375, $400 a month, and even on $450. But if you think about it, rent in an apartment is going to be $450, $500. I mean, I rented an apartment at one time before I got an RV. That's what made me think getting an RV. I got tired of the doors banging. I got tired of the noise and everything else. And an RV, if I get angry and I don't like it, I can pick it up and move it and go to another campsite, or I can boondock somewhere, or I can set somewhere. Now, we all know that a lot of guys were actually doing it at truck stops, but that's a questionable situation there. You can only stay there only so many hours. Overnight's accepted in some places, no problem. But sometimes they always tell you, they monitor those, and they tell you need to leave in anywhere from 3 to 6 hours. But the trucking can stay there as long as they want. But as the RVers are parking their rigs, and the truckers are getting angry, and so the trucking industry hates RVers because they're taking advantage of the situation. They can't even park their trucks. So if you have an RV, maybe take a spot that there's no way in the world a trucker would get when you get there and the parking lot's empty, because those things fill up fast. So get off to the side, get up somewhere else where you can respect those guys, because you know what, that's their job and they work very hard what they do. But I found that really Georgia, Alabama, Texas, Old Mexico, New Mexico are some of the best places. Now, if you filter down, if you go down into Old Mexico, there's some great places down in there. Of course, they're inexpensive. They do have some great camping down in Old Mexico. I will do a full video on that. It's just such a beautiful place, beautiful campsites, beautiful places to go. Some of the best campsites are there. And there's campsites that are so beautiful also there in Texas. Arizona has some beautiful campsites. There's a campsite in actually Tucson, Arizona, that if you go there, you can actually camp there inexpensively. I mean, it's really like, it's cheap. They only have electric on Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I think, only from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. But you go there, and I'll put the link in there to those guys. They're really a great park. It's really cheap to live there. And they have dumping. They have everything that you would need. Now, the key to anything is solar. You need to have some type of solar where you pull the panels out from underneath and put them out in the sun. You can easily get 300 or 500 watts. I will go in detail on that later. But I want to talk right now. The best campsites, inexpensively right now, if you're going to stay in Florida, in Central Florida, are up around Port Orange, Dunedin, around Fort Myers. And if you really want to get to the heart of Florida, Lake Okeechobee, around the lake down there, there's some RV parks down there. It's really inexpensive price. I would go in detail on the prices, but prices have changed. It seems they're changing, and I don't want to be quoting prices and then they say, well, you're wrong, they just went up $100. So I've noticed this in the RV world, that the prices will be set online, and then a month later, 2 months later, the prices will change, and we all understand how that is. And during right now, the prices of gasoline, there's going to be less and less RVers, so the prices may drop, because people aren't going to go on their trips. You're telling me it's going to cost me $300 to fill up it now, and it's going to be $600 to fill up again in a month or 2 months? No. So most people, you're finding, they decided not to do that, because it's understandably so. It's really understandably so. So I want to thank everybody for always watching my videos, and I want to thank you for everybody always coming on our channel, and I want to thank everybody for always, don't forget Tom and Ruth Philippine Adventures, Ruth and Tom Philippine Adventures, Omer's Chihuahua channel, and of course this channel here. Thank you so much. God bless.